We're working on the Apollo Blue XB Sedan, starting at the rear. Okay, so I got this lower panel screwed in, just tacked there. So now what I do is I get the old grinder out and across both panels. And what I do is I go through, say, 100mm, 200mm, whatever. And then I'll just tack it there, tack it there, tack it there. And then I'll continue on and then tack, tack, tack. I'm not worried about gaps at the moment. I need to get this into the place where it matches up with the dog leg comes around, and you want the line good and where it meets the other door, front door. So you want to have the lines coming through the same heights. So then once I've tacked it, I will take it off and then just TIG weld it all the way along. Now before I actually do that, I will clean up all the edges on the inside, clean up the inside of the door and pour 15 it and make sure that it's all sealed up behind there. Now normally, I don't know what you guys think about this stuff. I use it, well, I don't know how many cans I've gone through on a lot of cars. I've always used it, but I don't know if it's a gimmick or if it actually does something, because I used it on quite a few jobs and few cars, and I've had a car where I used it outside and I had to pull them apart, and it's like if this stuff here did absolutely nothing. Like it was rusty behind there again, and yeah, I don't know if you guys have had good results with it or whether it's just a gimmick. Let me know through the comments if you guys have used it. What are your thoughts on it? Because I'm a bit, yeah, that's what I think of it. What I've done there is put, cleaned it all up, put pour 15 on there on the inside. Not worried about the rest of it at the moment, because what I'll do is afterwards I'll clean all that up, and once we seal it and that sort of stuff, then it's all going to be good. So I've just gone around the edges of the actual panel that's gonna go on there as well, and then afterwards we'll just seal everything up and make sure it doesn't rust anymore. Should be good for another however long. Now I'll just tack it back into place, and then I'll take the door off and weld it all up. So now that I've got it tacked on there, what I'll do is I'll put a tack in between each one again, clean them up, and then I'll get the old TIG welder out and zap it across. There you go. So I've got to tap this edge down and fold it over onto the frame, I'm not sure if you guys can see inside here, but I'll try and get in there to show you. Alright, so this black stuff that they put on from the factory, some sort of body deadener, or I don't know what you call it, let's call it body deadener. So basically they put that stuff on from the factory, and when you try and weld along there, it'll contaminate the weld and it'll start bubbling up. It'll look atrocious. You'll end up with like all sorts of porosity and contamination coming through the weld. So always better to try and clean off as much as you can from both edges before you start to weld. Now, you guys who are inexperienced and think, oh, you know, it's something that I'd like to try and do. Is it something that I could do? Yes, it is. Of course it is. Yes, you can do it yourself. Not a problem at all. Like, just give it a crack. See how you go. It's only metal. What's the worst that could happen? Like, just, if it's no good, start again. Yeah, basically, I'm showing you how to do a 6-hour repair in 3 minutes. So, yeah, there you go. You can see inside there now. But yeah, give it a go, see how you go. Well, I guess there is rights and wrongs on how to do this sort of stuff, but you ask 10 different people how to do it, you're going to get 10 different answers. Like, everyone's got a different opinion on how to do it. Don't go thinking that one person's right and the other person's wrong. Like, whatever works for you, do it, get it done, get some of these cars out there. Can't really see anything in there, can you? Anyway, there you go. Alright, I just wanted to explain something to you guys. I've just tack welded this in at the moment. Now, this door, it's not the greatest, but unfortunately I couldn't find anything better at the time. So, it's got a few dents in it here and there. They need to be picked up. Over here it's still got a bit of a warp in it there. It's got the rust hole there as well, which I will be repairing later on. But I just wanted to explain these things to you. They're splines. Now, I use them whether they're right or wrong or whatever, but they're made by Malamotive and they come in really handy for situations like this where I just want to have a look at highs and lows at the moment. And basically, you just want to find where the spline actually sits nicely on the skin, and as you drag it along, you'll see, I'm not sure if you guys can, if it's picking it up or not, but there's a lot of daylight going through the bottom of it. You get these in all sorts of different sizes and lengths or whatever. I've got a whole box that I bought from them. Comes with longer ones, which are good for the quarter panels for a coupe. High top. Yeah, you got other sizes, lengths, thicknesses, ones that bend a bit easier, ones that don't bend as much. But all I'm doing at the moment is just having a quick squeeze where the daylight's coming through. Now, I don't know if you guys can see that at all or not. So before I pulled the paint off this door, all these low spots and stuff were actually just filled with filler. Nothing wrong with using filler, like I use filler all the time. But if you want to get this metal finished and whatever else, you're sitting here for days on end. So you got to think, well, how much filler is too much filler? What's the customer going to be happy with? You sitting here tapping and filing for the next 3 days, or you tap it up, you get it fairly good within a few hours, and then, you know, you epoxy it, and then you run filler across it. Now, obviously, you know, that section there, it's about 5 mil, which would be approximately in a diameter of, what would you say that would be? Maybe 150 mil, so 6 inch for you American guys. So that'd be 6 inches of 5 mil. You guys work it out. However thick it is. So it wouldn't be the end of the world if I was to just put filler in it. Like, you know, it would be quicker. Well, I wouldn't go saying it's quicker, but you know, you're just filling it up and then you're just filing it off and then job done. Whereas now, I don't want to use that much filler, so I'll be picking up that low spot and also the low spot over here. So I want to try and minimize the filler that I use, but at the same time, I don't want this door costing them 10 grand to do. Does that make sense? I hope so. So I want to try and give my customers value for money, bang for buck. So I don't want to sit here mucking around. I'm not charging them to show you guys what to do. You know what I mean? So hope you guys can understand that. Like, this is out of my time showing you guys what to do on a door. Capiche? Understandy? Good. Hopefully you can see that. Maybe I'll check the camera in a minute just to see if you can actually see it. But I'm hoping that you guys are learning something out of that. If you need to get some, Mellomotive is the one who... Mellomotive. So they're the ones who actually sell them. You can order them through like a panel shop, through a paint supplier or something like that. But they are very handy, flexible. Well, I don't know how flexible it would be if I snapped it, but I'll show you one of the longer ones. So that's one of the longer ones. Obviously, you know, it gives you the same result if you're using that, but you just use a short one on small door. For a coupe rear quarter panel, you could imagine, like it's a decent sized quarter, put it on, you'll be able to see where your highs and lows are, and whether you decide to tap it up or file it, or if you're at the stage of doing some filler work, you're able to see where you need to apply filler by going up and down the quarter. Why am I explaining this to you now? I'm sure I'll get to a quarter panel where I'll be able to show you how to use it, and I'll go through it again. And if you need to know more, look up Mellomotive. I'm sure they've got videos up there. As they say, do some research. So yeah, look them up if you need some. They're not cheap, but at the same time, if you do decide that you do need them, grab them. They're good. Now might be a good time to explain to you guys about oil canning. So the more you start working the metal, the more chance of it bouncing around, bouncing up and down, and becoming like an oil can. Boink, 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 boink. You've probably seen videos on it anyway, and nothing's happening here yet. But the more I start working this area to try and get that to come up, it might end up oil canning, and then we got to start shrinking the metal back down because it's stretching the metal. We'll worry about it when that does happen, but I just want to try and get this section to a fairly good state before I start welding along here. It'll just make it easier to dress this afterwards if I, you know, get this section here to a good point. So once I've got this to a good point, then I'll start welding it. Once I've welded it, you can almost imagine what's going to happen. It's going to be all wavy and whatever else. But when you TIG weld it, I'll be able to get back in there and dress it up, you know, and sort of like, you know, take the tension out of the actual weld, and it'll be satisfactory sort of thing. So then at the moment, it's looking pretty good across there where the weld has to go, but it's just this other area that I'm sort of like a little bit, I don't know what you'd call it, nervous or apprehensive or whatever you want to call it about this area. So if I put too much heat into it, it's going to affect that area afterwards. So I'd prefer to try and get that area sorted before I start welding it. Obviously my explanations aren't too crash hot, as you can see. I'm not much chop at explaining these things, but hopefully over in the future I'll be able to sort some stuff out and get my English happening, and we'll be able to explain a few things better to you. There's a little dent there as well, need to pick that up. But yeah, hopefully that explains why I'm mucking around with that at the moment. Once it starts oil canning, if it does, then we'll address that issue. We just need to shrink the steel back into position. Okay, I don't think there's anything else I need to explain at the moment. I've tacked it like you've seen me. I tack it with the MIG welder. If you guys have only got a MIG welder and you weld it with a MIG welder, that's fine, no problem at all. With the MIG welding, it becomes a little bit harder to planish up. Some of these other guys, they can do it no problem at all, but I find what happens is the MIG weld is so hard and brittle that when you start tapping it up, it'll crack next to the weld, not on the weld. The weld will be strong, but it will be next to the weld where it will start cracking. Whereas the TIG welder, it's a bit softer, and you're able to tap it up, file it, do what you got to do, make it happen, and it's all good. Hopefully that explains why I TIG weld it. I'm not much good on the TIG welder, and obviously this gap now is a little bit too big for the TIG. It does tighten up a little bit down the other end, but yeah, it's still a lot better to TIG it than to MIG it. We'll see how we go. And if it's no good, we throw it in the bin, we find a better door. Simple as that. But I think it's going to be fine. Cool, man. Just a quick detour. Oh, look at the rain. Sunny Melbourne. Alright, so I've spent a few hours on this door already, and you know, realistically, even if I was to just bog it up right now, it would have like a tenth of what it had in there before. I've just got to like muck around, like get a few extra bits up and down, and you know, it's not oil canning at all, which is good. I have had to shrink a couple of spots here just to get it back down, so I've done that, but otherwise it's actually not too bad. So for the moment, like what I'll do is I'll put it back onto the car, and I'll show you how I go about gapping and whatever else. Now obviously these, where the rare spares panel fits onto, matches up with the door here, the old door skin, like it's completely out, but it doesn't matter. Like at this stage it doesn't matter, because now I can build up the edge to suit, and just trim off what I need to wherever else, and then re-weld it and get the door gaps good. So I'll show you how to go about that. Alright, so I got my door bolted on roughly where I want it to be. You know, you just basically try and line up all this sort of stuff as good as you can. All that kind of stuff can be knocked around with a rubber mallet and that kind of stuff afterwards, like a block of timber, push it, pull it, belt it out, in and out, wherever you need to go. It's this sort of stuff that needs to be sorted out. So you got your line that comes through, your body line. You want your body lines, you know, flowing through nicely now. And this one up the top here, you know, some like within reason, you know, like you don't want to be afterwards, you know, filling this up to match the door top or filling the door top to match this quarter. So as long as those ones are fairly good, because you have a look at how horrendous these door gaps are now. Like, I can stick my finger in there. Well, it's a plastic finger. So this is where our wonderful Magic Wonder tool comes into it. We've got this, can you see that? One side's got a scribe on it, and the other side's got sharp edge. And I'm sure you've seen these things hanging around everywhere now, by now. And I've already explained it to you on other videos anyway. But this is where, you know, you start from up the top here. It's actually not too bad up the top, but look how bad this one is, like, and then it gets worse. So obviously we want to close up this gap as much as we can, because the thing about it is that I've had to put quarter panels on, and when you're lining up quarter panels, like, they sit where they sit. You can't really move them around too much. It's the rest of the stuff that has to be moved around to suit. I've put the quarter panel in where the old one used to be, within reason, tolerance, whatever you want to call it. But it's these door gaps that are just, you see that? Up the top, it's like you got about a millimetre gap between the tool and the door. And as it comes down here, you've almost got, what's that, almost 2 millimetres. And then when it comes back around, it's actually not too bad there, you know. You can get away with just leaving that. And then here it gets a little bit tight. That's where we start, we turn this thing back around and we can scribe our, like a scratch line where we need to trim it, which doesn't have to be a lot. But this is what I was telling you about before, the rare spares panel. Now the thing about it is that if I was to flatten it out and then bring it back out to match this one, on the inside I wouldn't have enough of a flange. I'll show you that. Can you see that? Where am I pointing this thing? You wouldn't have enough flange that for it to, where am I pointing? Here. You wouldn't have enough flange for it to flatten out, and then, yeah, on the inside of the door it wouldn't look good at all. So I like to try and keep that flange looking factory. The seam or flange, flangey, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, for me personally, this is the better way of doing it, where you just build this back out to suit that one. So then when we come back down here, it's just a little tight at the bottom there. Not much, so just a bit of a grind on there. Probably just get away with tapping that one in instead of grinding it. But yeah, and then just needs a little bit there, a little bit taken off there, and then built up. You can either MIG weld it, TIG weld it, whatever weld it you want. But what I like to use is, I used to MIG weld them. A guy that I used to hang out with, he said to me, oh, you should use the silicon bronze. And I'm like, what the heck is that? So I went and bought a roll of this silicon bronze, and yeah, it's incredible. Like, you know, it just makes it easier to work with. So when I do them now, it just, like, I'm able to weld them up. It's just a roll of MIG wire really, and you weld them up with the silicon bronze, and you're able to shape them a lot easier than you would be able to like with MIG wire. And the other problem with MIG wire is, like, if you're using mild steel MIG wire, it tends to bubble a lot, like as it penetrates through the actual skin, and then you get the glue coming out and that kind of stuff, and it sort of, like, the porosity of the, we call it porosity of the weld, looks a bit horrible and that kind of stuff. So yeah, the silicon bronze seems to work really good. The other thing that you got to look out for is just trying to get these panels to line up at the moment. So you got to keep that in mind as well, like as you go up and down on the tool. Just, you know, making sure that, try and keep all your panels level at the moment. If it's no good, just push and pull it, you know, it's like, it's not a big deal. Like, you know, you can, at this point, you can still move anything anywhere and do what you got to do to make it work. So some of you guys that are doing this sort of stuff, don't overcomplicate it. Just give it a crack, see how you go, and push and pull what you got to do and make it happen. So yeah, anyway. And then obviously this front door, I'm sure I've got a better one than this, because, like, yeah, I'll have to have a look around. But that door gap there, what would that be? Obviously I'd move this door backwards a little bit, see if I could move this frame a little bit more forwards, and then whether I was to build up both edges or whatever, that gap's no good. So I might even still just move the rear door forwards a little bit, so just to close that gap up a little bit more. Before I do that, I should actually find, like, I've got 3 or 4 of these doors. I'm sure I've got a better one than this. We'll see what happens. So yeah, there you go. And then pretty much just start, like, once I've started filling up all the edges, get the old epoxy out, epoxy it, and then you know, start doing some filler work and whatever else you have to do and make it happen. All right, there you go. So it looks a bit ugly at the moment because you're welding the edge. So what I'm using is silicon bronze just to build up that edge. So I'll linish it off now, and that way you'll see what it looks like when it's done. Right, so there you have it. gapping tool comes into it now. Should be able to just go all the way down. Nice. So there you go. Nice even gap. But yeah, that's the end result of the silicon bronze that I use. It's just nice and easy to work with. Yeah, I don't have any problems with it, so it's good. Just a bit softer than, you know, obviously MIG wire and that sort of stuff. And obviously if the gap is too big, then you can put a piece of weld, a piece of wire on there if you needed to, but no, the gaps aren't too bad. So just a bit of silicon bronze on the side of it, and that's all I do.